Now, from Wichita's most listened to sports radio, 97.5 and 1240 KFH. This is Sports Daily with Jacob Albracht and Tommy Castor.
All right, welcome in, everybody. It is Sports Daily. It is a Wednesday. It's Jacob Albracht, Paul Savage with you. Tommy Castor will be in just a little bit. We are glad to be with you here on KFH. All over the airwaves. You can find us on the Odyssey app. You can find our video stream on Facebook, on YouTube, and on X, soon to be simulcast on 12 News Plus. So we're excited about a lot of things happening. We'll get more into that a little bit later. Coming up today, a lot of nice, interesting stories happening at the moment. We've got Royals baseball in action last night, rain delay, wackiness, they fall. We'll get into that. We get our first idea of what people think about the big expanded Big 12 football season. We get the media preseason poll yesterday. We get the, all Big 12 preseason teams. We'll dig way into that. I'm excited to see that and talk about it when normally I don't care quite as much about that stuff. Boy, I really do this year. But we'll get into that as well. We've got former KU Jayhawks suing the NCAA in a really interesting case that we will touch on as well throughout the show. Your comments are welcome on the IHOP hotline at 869-1240. You can leave us your comments there. You can get on our video stream and comment that way as well. No matter how you take it in, we can see those comments and we put those out over the air. Coming up in just a few minutes, we'll tell you about a great program to help keep you safe on the 4th of July. That conversation's coming here in just a couple of minutes. But before we do that, Paul, good morning. How are you?
Well, good morning. How you doing, big boy? You doing all right?
Yeah, doing good. It's a Wednesday before the holiday, getting ready for some 4th of July celebrations, festivities. You got big plans for the 4th?
Yeah, not too much going on. Maybe go have some barbecue or a cookout maybe at my daughter's or something. I don't know. They'll let me know if they want me. How about that?
That's right. Yeah. Just still waiting on the phone call.
I'm waiting
Paul's
on the phone
kids
call.
out there. Paul's kids out there. He's still waiting on the phone call. Don't forget about that.
Yeah. Just keep in mind everything I did for you, huh? Come on
That's
now.
right.
Yeah.
That's right.
That's right. That's right.
It's a great day. I like that it's on a Thursday. Hopefully it gets people into like a very extended, maybe 4-day weekend. A lot of fun. We love the fireworks. I'm curious to see if my kids love the fireworks this year. They've been a little skittish, a little scared of them most of their lives. I kind of have this sneaky suspicion that this will be the year where maybe they have a little more interest. And I don't know that I'm ready for that because I don't really want to. I don't know. Fireworks are a lot more fun when you don't have young kids, right, Savage?
Well,
you got to worry about. Now you got to worry about the danger of it.
Well,
it's not quite the same as when we were young and dumb.
No, but your kids are getting to that age where they're going to want to do some of those things. I get it when you're a little bit younger. But you know something, now this is just an observation, and Jad, you may chirp in here and you can agree or disagree, but it seems like to me, I'm hearing less and less. I have not heard the volume of fireworks going off around the house that I have in past years. I don't know what that is. Now, I know we've had some storms.
I think you will over the next 3 days.
Okay.
Yeah, I think you will today, tomorrow, Saturday. And we should say, we're feeling for the big fireworks operation out on Kellogg near Andover Road. That storm kind of blew it down, hurt some people last night.
Oh my gosh, I didn't hear that.
That straight line wind
wow
affected a lot of those fireworks stands. So hang in there. If you were on the fence about whether to get out and support them, they had, a lot of those stands with that wind had a rough night last night. So think about it. But it's a good day. You'll start to hear those fireworks tonight, and they'll go tonight. They'll go tomorrow. They'll certainly go through the weekend. So I think they're coming for you, Paul. Our 4th of July celebrations were always and still are always a big party. My grandpa, who's no longer with us, one of my favorite lines of it, a lot of great one-liners was you got to celebrate the 4th with a 5th, and have fun.
Hey, I've never heard that. That is good.
Yeah, and so, but you got to be careful too. And in that spirit, we are happy to bring, big supporter of the program, from Devon James. We'll connect with Devon James. They have a good program. Jad's going to get them connected, and we'll tell you about a program if you want to celebrate that way, as our family always has and everything else. We will get up there. There is something and an opportunity out there for you to stay safe. So we'll get that here in just a couple of minutes. in the first segment, so stay tuned for that. We'll give away some HTO today as well on the program. You'll have a chance to win some free iced tea and some free coffee, so don't miss your opportunity to do that. We'll get you ready for the Royals game tonight, see if they can't bounce back. If they're going to win this series, Paul, they got to win tonight. And you know, there was Brady Singer was feeling it last night, one little blemish, and then the rain delay comes, and that kind of throws things off. So I don't, and we'll get more specifically into. I don't take a whole lot out of it. I mean, I don't know what you do with a game that gets delayed that long. Paul, what's going on?
Well, my question is, and I haven't been on since this happened, but you know, the Royals take 3 out. Last week we talked extensively about the Royals and the Guardians and what's going on right there, and the Royals take 3 or 4. I'd love to hear your take on the Royals taking 3 out of 4 from the Guardian, because that was big, and we talked about this last week, didn't we? We talked exactly about how important that series was against the Cleveland Guardians. So I'd love to get your take on what you thought about. Now, I know we're on to new games and everything. But let's face it, that might have been the biggest series of the season so far. In fact, I know it was.
Yeah, look, I think it was very big. But I think as much as anything, they just were playing. It would appear they're playing a little better now. Last night, I don't know what. Again, on the rain delay, I don't know. But yeah, you just like to see that they're sort of back on track, right?
Right.
And Cleveland,
yeah, good way to put it. Yeah,
Cleveland won last night. Boston won last night. Minnesota won last night. So it was not a good night for the Royals by any stretch. And we'll get into all of that, but they lost ground on basically everybody. And Mother Nature happens, and that's tough. That's tough. But going back to your question on Cleveland, it's good. It's good. I mean, don't you think?
Oh, gosh.
Well, I mean, obviously it's good. That's a silly thing to say. It is. Do you think it is enough? Is that enough to tell you they're back on track, or do we still need some time to tell that?
Well, I mean, you like the wins. You like the 3 out of the 4, but it says more to the internal workings of this team as to who they are, their identity, their belief in themselves and that kind of thing. I mean, if you went in there and let's say you lost 3 or 4, I mean, then all of a sudden you lose ground to Minnesota, you lose ground to Cleveland, you lose a bit of yourself. I mean, and I know it's only, well, back then it was just June. It was late June. And, still a lot of baseball to be played in this season, obviously. But, man, I'll tell you what, that's a big, gosh, I know they're pros. I get that. I know they're making millions of dollars, but it's still a child's game. Baseball is still, in essence, a child's game. And this child game says that, once you start winning, you start believing in yourself. But that's just life. That's being a human being. Believe in yourself. Know you can do it. And I'm just saying that there was more than just 3 out of 4 wins. There was something in that series that says, something, we're pretty good. We can do fine. We're a good baseball team. We got good pitching. We got timely hitting. We got every, I go up and down all the cliches. And I think that's good. I'll tell you. Let's just think on the other hand.
It can unravel quickly.
What if they had lost 3 or 4? Yeah,
I get you.
Okay,
I
I just want to. But I mean,
I do think we need to see more of it.
All right,
because they went ahead and lost again. They can't just have that good series and then go back to their ways. So we're going to get into the Royals today. I just don't know how much to take away from last night with a rain delay, because you liked the way things were going, and then you get a rain delay, and then it gets into the bullpens, and you kind of have that middle of the bullpen having to get out there. So that's all there. Another thing that's out there, LeBron James agrees on a 2-year extension. I believe it's a max deal. I think it's the most he could have signed for, but 2 years. And, with Bronny there now, maybe they'll get 2 more years out of it. That's why I loved the Bronny decision for the Lakers, because maybe they can get, 2 years out of LeBron James instead of, 0 years or 1. Maybe they get 2. And that would make it, to me, a win for the Lakers. So that story is out there as well. It's all there. We're going to take a break. We're going to get connected on a call here that we want to bring you to tell you about a program to help out tomorrow with all the festivities on 4th of July. We're going to get you ready for this Big 12 poll. That's where we'll spend a lot of time today, is on that Big 12 poll. We've got great stuff today. By the way, KFH and Odyssey invite you to join us at a spectacular Independence Day event. It's Red, White, and Boom, Thursday from 6 to 10. Enjoy an electrifying live performance by the Astronauts at Riverfront Stadium. Indulge in a feast from a variety of food trucks stationed at the Hyatt Lawn. Then watch the fireworks show at 9:40. The event proudly presented by Evergy, co-sponsored by Wichita Park and Recreation, Wichita Parks Foundation, and the Wichita Wind Surge. It's Sports Daily. Albracht and Savage here with you. Just getting underway. We'll be right back. Big 12. What do we think of the poll?
Sometimes people tell us, I don't get it, it's just tea. But let me tell you, we are so much more than just tea. With more than 25 flavors, the possibilities are endless. Come on in and try them all for free to find your favorite or get us on the go for your busy lifestyle. And don't miss happy hour every day for half-price cups of tea. So the next time someone tells you it's just tea, tell them to come by and find out why we say drink tea, be happy. We have more than 25 flavors. Come try them all for free. have more than 25 flavors. Come try them all for free.
4th of July, a big party day, one of the big party days as we celebrate the nation's independence. On July 4th, fireworks, barbecues, cookouts, and, a lot of situations, some beverages. And we welcome in Devon James, personal injury attorney Dustin Devon, because you guys are continuing a program on days like this, Dustin, that want to make sure people stay safe in their celebrations out there. How are you this morning?
Hey, I'm doing fantastic. Thank you so much for having me on your show.
Yeah, you bet. So let's reset this for people who haven't heard about this program. It's the Think Before You Drink program, and it really is designed. Well, I'll let you explain it. What's the idea here, and where did this come from?
Absolutely. July 4th is probably my favorite holiday. Friends, outside fireworks, good food. And it's probably one of the holidays that involves more alcohol than most. And what we want to do is keep people safe and remind them to think before they drink. We would love to give them a safe ride home this July 4th. In fact, through the entire weekend. And to do so, super easy. All they got to do is go to our website, which is devonjames.com, or they can text Safe Ride Home, no spaces, to our phone number, which is 316-888-8888, and we will Uber them home for free.
Now, last time we talked, one of the most surprising things to me is just how much success you guys have seen with this program. So tell us about that. This is something you guys have done before, and it's something you keep doing, I assume, because it's something that people are really using.
It's keeping people safe. We started the program in 2020. Our busiest Think Before You Drink program was this last New Year's Eve, where we gave out 600 vouchers.
Wow.
And so it's keeping potentially 600 intoxicated people off the streets.
Wow, that's amazing. And by the way, I think I'm gonna be at my daughter's tomorrow, but Dustin, I want you personally to come pick me up from my daughter's house.
Don't do it.
So really,
Don't do it.
I kind of want you. I mean, I might as well just go to the top and get the best ride possible, right?
I love it. Unfortunately, I'm not Uber approved. You got to go through a process.
There you go.
Well, here's a chance to make a little extra money. Come on now.
Paul's a one-star passenger on Uber. You don't want any part of that. Okay, so Dustin, again, the point of this is if you've had too much to drink, or if you're planning to have too much to drink, as many people are out there, you're getting a free ride here. One more time, Dustin, on how people can utilize this Think Before You Drink program. And we'll give it to them one more time so they can write this down, get it ready, get one of those vouchers, and absolutely no need to do anything that, would put you in danger or somebody else in danger, because here's a free ride for people. One more time on how they can get those vouchers.
Absolutely. Very easy. Our website is www.devonjames.com, or they can text the word Safe Ride Home to 316-888-8888.
All right, Dustin Devon, we appreciate your time here. We appreciate this program. We really do. It's a great thing you guys are doing, and we love having you in here to talk about it. And hopefully you break the record. Now, we have 600 vouchers. It's an odd record to break, but it's one that, of course, we'd like to see. We appreciate it.
Hey, thanks so much, guys. Take care.
You betcha.
There goes Dustin Devon. I'm Devon James. There really is no need to make a poor decision. You can literally get a free voucher there.
This is so cool.
Go to their website.
Yeah, because this saves people's lives in a lot of ways. Not only saves lives, but also the hassle. Let's say nobody's harmed, but man, driving while drinking can be such a messy deal, and just you don't want to get involved with that. It's best to drink, just not to drink and drive, or take an Uber. One of the two. Yeah,
no question about
That's
it.
right.
So
plus another plus to the service is
July
4th. Any holiday, the holidays that like Devon James is helping people out on. A lot of times on things like Uber, there's surge pricing on those nights.
Yep.
And so it's going to end up being. It's going to end up being more expensive. So it just makes sense.
Well, I did not know that. That even makes the service, even more, even more
valuable.
More valuable, but more wonderful, because it's going to cost him a little more money, but golly, it's just a great service. It's a good deal.
It's good community service.
It
is good
is.
community
There you
service,
go.
and we appreciate their support of this program and KFH as well. But
Right.
yeah, it's something that might as well use it.
Yeah, the
Use it
other
out
great
there. All right.
community service, by the way, is H2O. I mean, you just if you're thirsty in this heat and humidity, you got to go by there. And although the tea's not free, it's still pretty darn good. That's a great community
Well,
service.
you can get a free tea.
Oh.
It is free for one lucky winner later
Oh,
this
okay,
later in this show,
Well, there
because
you
we'll
go.
we'll
All right.
give some away in a text giveaway. So
Yeah.
keep that in mind if you'd like a little iced tea on the 4th of July. Also, can be made into a pretty tasty cocktail if that's
Yeah.
the way you choose to
I-
celebrate.
I hadn't thought of that. Oh, that.
Oh yeah.
Well, I hadn't thought of that. What the quick recommendation? If you're going to make a cocktail out of it, what do you go with? Just regular tea?
I do.
Okay.
That's what I like at the pool. Is just some regular unsweet tea with a little vodka in it.
Yeah, no,
It's a
you're
good
just
pool
full
drink.
of surprises, Jacob. You're just
Yeah.
full of surprises. Did not see that one
Yeah.
coming. There you go.
There's no
other-
iced tea in Long Island iced tea though, correct?
That's not that I'm aware of.
I-
no.
Okay, I thought so.
I told you a couple of my grandpa's favorite liners. One is
Yeah.
celebrate the 4th with the 5th.
With the
Another
fifth,
one,
I've never heard that.
yeah. Another one is he always said, I come from a long, and he did. He lived a long time, worked 7 days a week till he was 98 years old. He'd always tell people when they would ask him, oh, how do you do it? How do you stay in such good shape? And he'd say, well, I come from a long line of livers, mostly cirrhosis. Mostly cirrhosis.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. He was a
was-
character, but
he
yeah,
was funny.
I always love that.
Yeah.
I always love that line on the 4th. All right,
like
let's
that.
talk about this Big 12 poll, Paul.
Yeah.
So we get it yesterday. This is let me say this. I don't typically prescribe to the hype around preseason polling. I understand it. I actually do think it's important. I think it's important to the sport because it helps build up the hype of games early in a season. I've seen people over the years say, well, why do we even do that? Why don't we just let everybody come in unranked and then we'll sort it out after a few weeks? And I don't think that's very smart, because you have way too many casual fans that don't have the time or energy to, study up on 200 teams out there. So I do in general like the preseason polling, but I don't take it too seriously because it's an impossible task for the voters. I mean, especially now with the transfer portal, it's really difficult to do. But I do think it serves a really important purpose in college athletics because there are too many teams. We don't know enough about all of them. The polls, they help us. So we get the media poll in the Big 12 yesterday. Saying all of that, I am probably more interested in this preseason poll than any I can remember because of the expansion of the Big 12. That's one reason. The other reason is because I fully anticipated KU and K-State to be at or near the top of this poll. I genuinely think both of those teams will compete for a Big 12 title next year. I genuinely think both of those teams are absolute contenders for a college football playoff as we look at things now, assuming Jalen Daniels can play this year. And so we get the poll yesterday, and here's how it shakes out, Paul. Utah is number one in the preseason poll, narrowly as you can, edging out Kansas State at number 2. Then you have Oklahoma State at number 3. Those three are by far the largest vote getters. Also getting first place votes, Kansas, who's at number 4, Arizona, who's at number 5. And then let me just round out the rest of it here. And it's going to take a minute because there are 16 teams now. Iowa State, West Virginia, UCF, Texas Tech, TCU, Colorado, Baylor, BYU, Cincinnati, Houston, Arizona State. We'll get into some of these other teams. I do think, Paul, if you had to give most people and say, what do you think will happen? It would be some combination of those top 5 that people would be picking. Utah, Kansas State, Oklahoma State, Kansas, Arizona. I think everybody is generally speaking on the same page with those 5 teams. Are you good with the way this shakes out? I would have put Kansas State in ahead of Utah, but I don't. And that is totally admittedly biased because I just didn't watch enough Utah. I just love what Kansas State has coming back, but they're right there. What did you think of the poll?
Well, I was a little bit surprised, like you. I honestly thought KU and K-State would both obviously be in the top 10 of this poll. There's no question about that. But what surprised me was that K-State was quite as high. I thought they were going to come in about 3, 4, 5, maybe somewhere in that area. No, that's just me. And I thought KU would probably drop in around 8, 9, maybe lower than 10. That's kind of what I was thinking. And I thought that we would probably see a little more heavy representation from the new teams. Utah's number 1. Really, I don't have a problem with that. I watched enough of them last year.
I don't have a problem with it at all.
I watched.
I mean, we
enough.
saw them. They
They're
played
good.
meaningful games. They won
good.
games.
That's right.
They
They're
didn't have
good.
their quarterback. I totally get it. I have no problem.
And
with
Arizona, obviously, is an excellent football team. I'd have had them in the top 5, probably about where they are. The Arizona State surprised me a little bit. I thought they'd be 4 or 5 spots a little higher. Cincinnati is more of a disappointment. It's not a surprise. It's more of a disappointment because I know that there's a beast inside the University of Houston just waiting to be released. And it doesn't look like, according to what the pollsters think, that it's going to be this year. Cincinnati had that great run a couple years ago, but not a lot since. BYU, something, that's the team that's hard to figure, isn't it? That's the team that I have a difficulty saying, just how good is that team going to be? I always struggle with BYU. Baylor, I'm obviously disappointed they're not in the top 10. One of my big surprises, though, is if you go to number 11 with Colorado. Come on, this is Deion Sanders territory. We're talking about prime time. And here we got the University of Colorado at number 11. That's the pick. Now, they work the portal as hard as anybody in the country. Colorado gets after the portal, and here they are, number 11. I'm a little surprised at that. And, of course, UCF, a little surprised at that. I thought they'd be a little lower. I mean, there's surprises, but this is just a preseason poll. Doesn't mean diddly squat.
No.
But there's been a little surprises. This would not have been my poll if I was figuring this out and where I was putting these teams. I would have had some differences with this particular poll. Not significant, not huge. I'm not criticizing this poll. I'm just saying I would have had obviously that's the idea of a poll. I would have had a few teams higher and a bunch of teams lower.
It's it's fine. I don't have a problem with any. Colorado being 11 is the most interesting. I will say this: Colorado has the highest ceiling and lowest floor for sure.
Well said.
I mean,
that's right.
But that's what they were last year too.
Right.
So I do think that they'll be better than they were last year for sure. I just don't know where that stacks up. Would I put them in over any of the top 5? I would say no. Could they finish anywhere else? I would say yes.
Right.
I mean,
the problem with Colorado, as you and I both know, we've both been around sports long enough to know, that is Colorado team. Now, do they have great players? They got great players coming in off the portal, from my understanding.
They got the quarterback of the year preseason.
They got a great, the great quarterback.
Defensive player of the year.
Yeah. But the question is, do they play like a team? Are they a team? They're a conglomeration of a lot of talent. You and I both know that. You're going to go play for Deion Sanders. You're not going to go there unless you have a great image of yourself, think you can do it, know you can do it. You have the ability to back that up. They've got plenty of talent. But the question is, do they function as a team? And that's part of the problem with the portal, isn't it, at times? You see the great players coming into some of these schools with the portal.
But we act like that's just a problem for Colorado. It's literally a problem for almost everybody. Right.
Okay. Well, no, it is a problem. But it seems to be, it's a bigger problem for Colorado because they got prime time. They got Deion Sanders. That's why it's a bigger problem.
What happened with them last year is interesting. Would you say that it was a successful year in year 1 for Prime at Colorado?
No. A resounding no.
Okay. You don't think they got better with him?
No. I think if you ask Primetime, in which people do, and I think he reiterates this in his own words, but in essence, what he is saying is that we didn't mature as a team. We didn't, we had a lot of talent, but we did not play as a team the way you need to have a college football team to play to get to the upper echelon of the Big 12 or even, the national scene for college football. And they had talent. Everybody would admit they had talent.
I would say this. I think it was a success, but
Oh,
not,
wow.
you know,
Okay. Well,
but look, they won one game in 2022 and they won 4 last year. And those weren't totally meaningless wins. They
I
weren't
gotcha.
cupcake wins. Now,
No.
once they got to the conference schedule, things snowballed on them. But if you want to talk about, has he done a good job getting better players there? Has he done a good job reinvigorating a fan base? They're selling tickets. They're doing all of this stuff. He's got 2 Heisman candidates there. I think when you look at what they were in 2022 versus what they were last year, there was major improvement for that football program. Now, the next step, nobody cares about that anymore, though. Now you got to win a bunch of games. And I think and look, I know this is self-inflicted. I get that part. But in a lot of cases, when programs are so down and you have that kind of buzz in year one, people are ecstatic. And I'll bet you Colorado fans are. Think about Kansas, like Leipold year one, right? Like what were the expectations for Prime? Now he raised those up because he's always in the headlines. They created so much buzz early in the year. And then it became very apparent they weren't nearly talented enough to be very good in that league.
Right.
They got a bunch of players through the portal. A bunch of players have left. I don't know what to make of this roster. I don't know. I don't have a clue other than they've still got, the top end is insanely talented. They probably have the number 1 overall pick in the NFL draft next year under center at quarterback. They have another player who's a two-way player who's as great an athlete as we've seen in college football in a while. Like they still have all these things. So, is that enough? Well, it wasn't enough last year. So I get picking them 11. I certainly do. But I also think there's a lot of room for improvement because I think probably if we're being realistic, their roster did get better. Even with people leaving and everything, they had the best transfer class before then. I would imagine their roster top to bottom is a little bit better than it was a year ago. So, this year, can they win 6, 7 games? Maybe. Can they do something special? And I think when you got players like Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter, you can at least dream it up. But I don't have a problem with them being at 11 because I think the range of outcomes is all over the place for them.
Yeah. Well,
we see of the new Pac-12 teams, Paul, you've got Utah 1, Arizona 5. Then you go all the way down to Colorado as the next highest at 11. Then you've got Arizona State at 16. So they're going to have an impact. 2 teams in the top 5. 2 teams in the top 5. You think we'll end up with 2 Pac-12 teams in the top 5? I mean, I think you do because you like Utah and you like Arizona, right?
I do. Well, and K-State and Kansas are those wild cards. And,
I love K-State and Kansas.
And by the way, you look at the University of Kansas, you look at Colorado, there's some comparisons. They're different comparisons to the fact that one coach acts one way, one coach acts the other way with regards to the players. One team is a team. One team is not as quite the team that the other some of the other teams in the conference are, and it's an interesting contrast. And yet, when a team functions as a team, has one mission as a team, you end up being the 4th-ranked team or pick number 4 in the conference, which is what Kansas is, versus number 11, because people are saying, prove it to me. And by the way, the quote of the day, Jad, write this down. In fact, you may want to make a little promo on it. The line where you said Colorado, nobody in this conference. In fact, I might say nobody in this country has a higher ceiling and a lower floor than the University of Colorado. I don't think there's anybody in the country like that. That. Congratulations, Jacob. That was the line of the day. Da, 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 da. There you go.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I'm the only one that thinks that. I think
Well,
that's kind of the way everybody is.
Well, I know.
So
thinking,
last year, Kansas, for all intents and purposes, last year, and this is easy to forget, and I have already forgotten it. They were 8th in the Big 12 or tied for 7th. So they've got improvement to make. Kansas State, 1 win better in the conference, down at 6. So we look at this, and Oklahoma State, remember, surprised everybody last year and was there. You take out Texas and Oklahoma. I think that we're not probably, and I don't know enough about the rosters, Iowa State and West Virginia, and they're the next 2, right, at 6 and 7. But they finished ahead of Kansas and Kansas State last year when all was said and done. And it was a great year. We were excited about last year. I think it's wide open. But when I think about Kansas and Kansas State this year, Paul, I mean, I am so bullish and excited. A lot of it depends on Jalen Daniels on the KU side. I get that. But remember, they had the year they had last year without him. And so I think they've gotten better. I think K-State has certainly – K-State's interesting. Could you definitively say right now that K-State has gotten better? They lost a lot of players.
Lost a lot. Of course, see, that's the question with the portal.
But they returned a lot of players, and they turn Avery Johnson loose.
And part of it is the Avery Johnson effect on where they're picked and who they are and what their message is, and basically who they are as a personality for this football team. It's all a lot of that's wrapped around Avery Johnson.
I think they're my pick. I think I've got Kansas somewhere there inside the top. Kansas is hard. If you tell me right now that Jalen Daniels plays this year and just is regular Jalen Daniels and can go, I think I'd put him 2 or 3.
Yeah, you could. You could make a case for it. You sure could.
And so we have this magical season brewing. I've been feeling it for a long time, and there is definitely some, like optimistic bias baked into that for sure. But it's been such a fun run last year through the off season into this that I feel like it's going to deliver for us, and it's going to be epic. And so back to the poll, I thought it was really interesting to see that many media members sort of feeling the same thing. I was pretty surprised to see Kansas get 5 first-place votes. It's not that I don't think that's realistic. I think that absolutely is fair. I think it's right. I don't have any problem with it. I was just surprised to see it. Mm-hmm. Imagine that, Paul. Mm-hmm. Go back 2-3 years and imagine yourself saying, in a combination of the Big 12 and the Pac-12, that the University of Kansas will be in a preseason poll in 2024 receiving first-place votes in a new mega conference, 16 teams. I mean, imagine yourself saying that. That seemed crazy. If we went into a time machine, we'd both laugh laugh ourselves off the air.
That's right. You're exactly right. And one more observation about this particular poll is I'm going to leave the ACC out of this conversation because I haven't seen the poll on them yet. But I look, let's take the Big Ten and let's take the SEC and their 2 polls. And obviously what we know is that the top 3, 4, I mean, we can almost blindfolded go ahead and pick the teams that we know are going to be at the top of those particular polls. But I look at the Big 12 poll that we just received yesterday. And out of the 16 teams in this conference that are on this poll, I can see any of the top 11 winning a championship. And here's what I mean by that. Every team in the top 11 of this is capable because they're not an Alabama. They're not a Michigan or an Ohio State. They're not an Auburn or pick your LSU or whoever it is you're picking in the SEC. My fear, and here's my real fear with regards to the Big 12, is that they beat the crap out of each other throughout this football.
Well, they will.
And they will. But that could be a problem when it comes to.
Well, we're going to get one. We're going to get one in the playoff. We know. I agree with you. I don't think any team's like running the table here. No. And by the way, I also agree with you, Paul. I do. I think you could make a case for any of the top 11 teams.
Any of the top 11, as far as I can.
Now, some are far more different. You get like UCF. I don't know about maybe I'd say 10 of 11, and I wouldn't include UCF, but they've got a quarterback everybody's excited about coming in, who I believe was voted the newcomer of the year. I know people are bullish on Texas Tech all the way down at number 9.
That's right.
I think people forget how well Iowa State and West Virginia played down the stretch last year.
Mm-hmm. There you go.
Colorado, we already talked about, and TCU was just in a national championship game a couple years ago. They obviously know what they're doing through the portal. So I agree with you on that. I do think that they are going to beat up on each other. Let's talk about that. Will that be a problem?
It is a problem.
Or does it make the league better? I think that's a difficult question.
No, it's not.
Let's think about it here. Let's think about it during the break. We'll come back. We'll try to take a stab at it. You can get in touch with the program on the IHOP hotline at 869-1240. That's the number for you there. On your way into work and want to keep listening to Sports Daily even after you park the car, with the Odyssey app and Odyssey.com, you can. Just download the app, visit Odyssey.com, search for KFH. Download that Odyssey app today to get started. We're coming right back. More Sports Daily right after this.
Sometimes people tell us, I don't get it, it's just tea. But let me tell you, we are so much more than just tea. With more than 25 flavors, the possibilities are endless. Come on in and try them all for free to find your favorite or get us on the go for your busy lifestyle. And don't miss happy hour every day for half-price cups of tea. So the next time someone tells you it's just tea, tell them to come by and find out why we say, drink tea, be happy. We have more than 25 flavors. Come try them all for free.
welcome back in, everybody. Football coverage on KFH is presented by T-Mobile. Switch to T-Mobile and you can get tons of benefits and still save on every plan versus AT&T and Verizon. Use their savings calculator to find out how at T-Mobile.com/switch. We are talking football. We got a preseason Big 12 poll out there. We've talked, both of us agree, you could make a case just about for any of the top 11 teams in the poll here. Some certainly longer odds and less likely to do it. But you could make a case. I don't know about UCF, but again, apparently UCF's brought in a hotshot quarterback that everybody's excited about. So who knows? Paul, there's going to be a lot of parity in this league. There was last year. There will be again this year. You'll remember Texas ended up on top last year with 1 loss. Oklahoma State and Oklahoma each had 2. You had 3 teams with 3 losses. You had another 2 teams with 4 losses. Those were all the teams above 500. Mm-hmm. You had 8 teams above 500 in the league last year. I think we'll see that number or more again this year. Mm-hmm. So there'll be parity. I don't think any of these teams are going to run the table. I don't think we'll have an unbeaten team. I think we could end up with a team with 1 or 2 losses, though, or 2 or 3. I happen to think that's a good thing during the regular season. It will make it more fun during the regular season. Is it a good thing for the college football playoff, though, now that it's expanded? I think that's a fair question.
That is totally fair. And the answer is no, you don't want anybody beating each other up because if you have somebody that's a clear favorite, then there's always the chance of getting 2 teams in. The problem is that that's basically going to be the SEC or the Big Ten. I mean, you're not going to get.
Well, that's fine. I mean, there's 12 teams that get in now.
Well, that's right. Yeah, no, you're right in that, and that's a better way of looking at it. With the 12 teams, obviously, you think that how is that going to work out? But let's face it, the Big 12, if they the problem is beating each other up, and so now you say, well, let's take the third place team out of the SEC. That could be an Ole Miss, that could be an LSU, that could be a Florida, that could be it could be an Auburn, that could be how many teams could it be? It could be like 5-6 teams. But you take the third team out of the Big 12, and now all of a sudden you're running down and you're probably looking at an Oklahoma State, you're looking at an Iowa State, you could be looking at a West Virginia, and those teams will not have the prestige, I guess I would say, as an SEC. And the same thing, you can make the same case for obviously for the Big Ten as well. So the problem is that when a league beats itself up, and I'm predicting that the Big 12 is going to beat itself up, Utah may win this conference, but more than likely it's going to be with 2 losses. K-State may finish second with 3 losses. There's going to be some beating up in the Big 12
here's what I hope.
Okay.
That in a new 12 team, at least in this early part, I hope that all 4 of the power conferences can get at least 2 teams in. That still leaves 4 spots. So if you took 2 of every one of the 4 leagues, that's 8. You took your next best, basically the non-power conferences, that's 9. That still leaves 3 more teams for the Big Ten and the SEC. Give them to them. Don't care. I would love to see 2 Big 12 teams get into a 12 team and ACC. And obviously the SEC and the Big Ten are going to get 2 in. Mm-hmm. But what I would hate to see is, the SEC get 5 and the Big 12 get 1.
But
that's still better than nothing. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
And I mean that to say not because the committee's biased. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just hoping that the league doesn't do that to itself. Where yes, if your second best team has 3 or 4 losses, it might get difficult.
That's the problem. 3 losses, you could easily see the third best team in the Big 12 with 3, maybe even 4 losses. Therein lies the problem, my friend. Therein lies the problem.
It is, but if we just go back to the college football rankings and where they finished last year, I'll do that. But I think that you look at the final, and if you took it out 12, you would have had 2 in. You'd had Texas at 3 who made it, right? And you'd had Oklahoma at 12. And those teams last year, could we have 2 teams do that again? So if you look at it last year, Well, no, I don't know. Oklahoma may have got edged out because you'd have to put in a non-power school, and that would have been last year that would have been Liberty. So Liberty would have got in, and Oklahoma would have been pushed back a spot. So it would have only been one.
Yeah, the fun part of this is that Oklahoma or Texas will not be in the playoffs next year. That for me is pretty cool.
Texas, I'm not going to hold out. I'm not going to hold out Texas totally. Oklahoma, I think, would be a stretch, but Texas, I wouldn't make that proclamation. We'll see how they fare.
I'm making it.
Just give us two teams. We'll talk about it more in the second hour. We got this lawsuit now by KU players against the NCAA that I think they're going to win probably. But we'll get into that in the second hour. We haven't really scratched the surface on Royals yet. A lot of good stuff here today and more on this poll. Tommy should be joining us at some point here in the second hour as well. A lot of fun on Sports Daily. On the way out, let's do our text to win contest. HTO, free iced tea, free rain coffee, a free tea, a free coffee. You can win the contest. Just text the keyword TEA to the short code 20357. Come and get your free tea. Think about some gallons for all the festivities. All that great tea comes in gallon form. We'll sell a ton of gallons over the next couple of days there, getting people ready for their celebrations. All right, we'll come back. Good luck, everybody, with the contest. More Sports Daily in hour number 2 coming your way.
Sometimes people tell us, I don't get it, it's just tea. But let me tell you, we are so much more than just tea. With more than 25 flavors, the possibilities are endless. Come on in and try them all for free to find your favorite or get us on the go for your busy lifestyle. And don't miss happy hour every day for half-price cups of tea. So the next time someone tells you it's just tea, tell them to come by and find out why we say, drink tea, be happy. We have more than 25 flavors. Come try them all for free. We have more than 25 flavors. Come try them all for free.
40 KFH. This is Sports Daily with Jacob Albracht and Tommy Castor.
All right, welcome in, everybody. It is Sports Daily. It is hour number 2 on the program. Jacob Albracht, Paul Savage in for Tommy. We think Tommy will be in here a little bit later in this hour as we get ready. We will not have a show tomorrow, and that is for the 4th of July. And we'll be back on Friday, and then next week we will be beginning the simulcast over on 12 News Plus. Now, that won't affect anything that you're doing out there to take us in. You'll still be able to find us, of course, on KFH. You'll still be able to find us on the Odyssey app. You'll still be able to find us on Facebook, on YouTube, on X, and all these ways. You'll just also be able to find us in partnership with KWCH on 12 News Plus on the live stream there. We're excited about that, see where that growth can go, and we're just trying to build this show up and expand that audience, and we're looking forward to more on that Friday as we get ready to launch that out. A few fun guests already lining up for next week. We should have Mitch Holthus in next week. Paul Mills, Wichita State men's basketball coach, will join us next week. A couple other big names sort of on the radar that we're trying to finalize some details with. And we'll have Big 12 Media Days out in Vegas as well in that week. Brandon Zenner will be out there for 12 News. He'll report with us here next week. So more details on that on Friday. Right now, we are happy to be joined our biweekly visit on these Wednesdays with Wichita State Athletic Director Kevin Saul. Kevin, getting ready for a big 4th of July celebration. How are you this morning?
Doing great. Good to see you. Good to be with you guys. Hope you guys are doing well. Happy 4th. Is Paul filling in for Tommy this morning?
Yeah, it's Albracht and Savage here with you. Unfortunately for you and everyone else who may be here.
Thank you.
No, that's good. That's good.
No, we love it. We love it.
And I told him I'd join you guys every day.
That's right. That's right. And we would too. Look, we get you, and we haven't gotten into this yet. I'm curious, how is there any? So let me just set this up for folks out there, and we'll get to the Shockers in just a second. But the timing is good. So you get a bunch of KU former players suing the NCAA for March Madness promos and NIL. I just wonder, as everybody's trying to navigate through this, I see this, and they probably have a pretty good case. And if they have a case, everybody else has a case. How much unease right now do you think there still is, even with some of these court cases settling themselves out, to just see more keep popping up?
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, we've got a rising tide raises all ships, right? So you're seeing the House settlements going to, in essence, take care of retroactive NIL over the last 10 years. I think you're going to see in the next 18 months the look forward and how we'll address that through NIL and revenue sharing and the Division I model and all those pieces that will come out. I think it's as simple, Jacob and Paul, as we're in an environment that is ripe for litigation. And I think, you take the House settlement, for example, guys, the $2.78 billion settlement that will occur as the retroactive. It's not well documented. I have seen it publicly, so I'm certainly comfortable talking about it. But the lawyers, the litigators in that case were ruled by the judge to receive $831 million as a part of that settlement. And so I think the environment is ripe for litigation, and I think that window is closing slowly, but ultimately will close at one point. And I think folks are jumping on where they can.
It's a wild time, and I agree with you. And I know there have been some pretty prominent folks out there pointing that fact out, like, how many billable hours are there and some of those kinds of things. And I do think that's a huge part of what we'll see. And I don't know how much longer it'll last, but it was interesting to have that on. So as we look here locally with the Shockers, is it a slow time? I know you guys can dig in sort of to some of the renovations and those things. What is on the radar? It is sort of the slowing of the sports calendar for us for about, 10, 15 days through the All-Star break. What is it like in Shockerland right now? What do you guys have up your sleeve in this dog days of summer?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have 3 teams that have been practicing on campus. Volleyball was with us, basically never left after finals and did their foreign tour to Brazil. That was actually a postponement of their COVID canceled foreign trip that they had planned to Italy. And so the funds were raised and had been sitting there for a few years now. And they were looking for the best opportunity to do that. So volleyball was on campus. And you guys remember when the men had the opportunity to do that in Greece last year, that affords you a certain number of days where you basically, it's not unlimited practices, but you get significant practice time that your peers wouldn't, that aren't going on foreign tours. So that is incredibly beneficial for volleyball as they kickstart their season in August. Our women's basketball team is taking their foreign tour to the U.S. Virgin Islands. So they've been on campus all summer, and they'll leave late July for that trip. And then, of course, men's basketball is in their segment right now, their summer access segment, where they get 4 hours of technical skill instruction, full team, and they get 4 hours a week in the weight room as well. So they get about 8 hours a week. Guys are on campus, some are taking school, and it's been relatively busy there. You guys have seen the AUX softball will kick off TBT here in a couple of weeks. We've got fundraising going on for capital projects in the form of Wilkins and Cessna University Stadium, and then we've got NIL fundraising as well. So it's I'm not sure the calendar really dips a whole lot. You've got to carve out the time where you can get a little downtime and just stick to it and come back rested and ready to roll.
Kevin, I need some help. I need some help personally, and here's what I'm going to ask you about. And that is, I'm having a hard time telling when somebody moves through the portal and goes somewhere, how do I know they're going to help them? How does a coach know they're going to help them? Kevin, when you look at any one individual making a move in the portal, is there anything you look at? Because you know more than I do. There's no question. But what do you look at when you say, oh, that's a good job in the portal? Oh, no, that's not going to work out. What's the ingredients you have of judging portal moves?
Yeah, well, there is no magic wand, right? And so you have to get your data from a lot of different places. There are some algorithms that will look at historical player stats that will project what they might be able to do in your league in combination with your roster, so you can get a good feel for that. You can obviously look at historical stats. I think Coach Mills puts it best when he says, you know, the 3 of us could walk in a gym with Coach Mills, and within 5 minutes, we could probably point out the top 5 most talented players from a technical skill and ability standpoint. That piece isn't that difficult. The more difficult piece is the character investigation and research, understanding who you're inviting into your program, who's in their circle, who are they listening to. More importantly, who are they going to call when it gets hard and they want to reconsider their choice of doing something really difficult, which is being a college men's basketball student athlete at a competitive Division I program, right? So it's all those things that you've got to investigate. And quite frankly, the pace and timing of the transfer portal doesn't really provide for that. And so when you talk about a full staff recruiting a single player or a handful of players, that really is the case. You got to go all in on the technical skills and abilities, understanding what that looks like. You've got to go all in and quickly on the character piece, understanding who you're inviting in your program. And hopefully, Paul, through all of those quantitative and qualitative pathways, you can get to a pretty good decision. And I think what Coach Mills and his staff have been able to do, you might even go all the way back to Baylor, but at Oral Roberts, and definitely has shown the case in the first 2 years here, is they do have a unique ability to identify high character individuals.
So let's talk about men's basketball. You guys have had a chance to see him. I'm curious. Paul Mills was hired in March of 23. So we've had a full year. We've had now this offseason. What do you think the biggest difference is in July of this second year versus July of that first year? Different players in some capacity, but a lot of the same players. But what is the biggest difference you've seen from Coach Mills, would you say, in this second year now?
It's a really, really high attention to detail. The teaching is next level. The coordination and collaboration amongst the staff, where everything is intentional and they're trying to empty their cup into their players in the program every single day. It's very evident. It's very intentional. It's very purposeful. That piece is really good. I think if you were in the locker room in April, May of last year, and Coach Mills comes in and addresses the team for the first time, and he asks the guys, okay, if you're coming back, raise your hand, and you got 7 or 8 guys that raise their hand, and great, I got to go out and get another 6, 7 guys to fill out the roster, but you don't really know those guys, right? You can do all the research, you can look at their film, you can talk to the previous coaching staff, you can do all those things, but you don't know how they're going to respond to your coaching, to your staff, to your philosophy, to your system, to your standards, to the culture you're trying to create, all of those pieces. And so what I think that year gives you, Jacob, is it gives you a really keen understanding of who you have and or had on that roster in July. And it also gives you an opportunity to recruit elite level talent to fill the gaps in terms of what you have coming back. And I think we've talked on your show, really proud of Paul and the staff, because if you look at the American Athletic Conference, it's the 7th strongest league in the country. You've got the Power 5 and the Big East above it, and you've got everybody else below it. And so what that has created over the last 4 years is the most amount of turnover that we've seen through the transfer portal has been in the American Athletic Conference in the last 4 years. This year alone, the average team is losing 8 players off of its roster, and the Shockers have lost 3. So what we do know is that roster continuity, age, productivity, 5 of our top 7 scorers are returning from last year. So that piece has been really good. And I think that speaks to Coach Mills and their staff's ability to identify high culture young men that want to be a part of some development and maybe stick around longer than our peers.
Mind if I switch gears a little bit? Of course, you got the TBT coming up a little bit. This is a really good thing for Wichita. It's good for Wichita State. How much of a hassle is it for you and your staff to put on the TBT?
I'm going to tell you this, Paul. In my background, first 12 years of my career was in event management, facilities planning, and hosting championships and extra events and all those things.
I love it.
I love that piece, but I think more importantly, Brad Pittman, who's our senior associate AD, he is the one that leads the effort on behalf of our department for external events, NCAA championships, all of those things. And he does a remarkable job. He understands that the more bodies we bring to Wichita State University and the city of Wichita, there's a lot of great stories to tell. We have a lot to show off, right? So hosting state championships where we had a record 30,000 individuals come in for the track event this past May was really, really impressive. And getting baseball and softball and working towards advancing and expanding Acacia basketball in Wichita, those pieces are really important. The AUX softball, guys, that was 18 games on linear TV, either ESPN2 or ESPNU, which is just a tremendous exposure for the city of Wichita, our university, our softball program. Some of the best softball players in the world are spending a month in Wichita, and you've got basically 50 hours of linear TV infomercial for Wichita State University. And that's really, really important. The TBT is much the same. And we have been a leader since the birth of the TBT in terms of hosting it here. I'll tell you a really quick story, guys. When we were at Murray State, we wanted to host the TBT, and we got on the phone and we walked through a lengthy conference call and all the logistics with that. And I asked the question, I said, hey, who does this the best of all your host sites? And they said, Wichita State. That was obviously prior to my having an opportunity to come here. But Wichita State does things at a really, really high level from an external event standpoint. We don't view it as a hassle. We view it as an opportunity and a tremendous asset for the Wichita community.
Kevin, when we look at the, sort of the happenings around campus there, one thing that has changed recently, and I know we've talked about this in the past, but it's official now. Women's bowling is an NCAA Division I program now. Shocker Bowling has had a long and rich history on campus of success, both on the men's and women's side. What exactly does that mean for you guys to have that program now, I guess, as an official NCAA program versus what it had always been before?
Well, I'm really glad you asked that question. It is a tremendous program, and I think what might be hard to grasp for some folks is that the bowling program on the women's side, it's been split men's and women's programs, and they've been club programs for many, many, many decades. And so the NCAA started sponsoring women's bowling back in the early 2000s. So it's been for about 2 decades. It's been a sport. And as we look at the needs of our university, our sport portfolio, gender equity, Title IX, all of those components, it became abundantly clear to me within a month or two after I started, and certainly talked through with the president's office and the folks with bowling and our alumni that have bowled, and we walked through this piece, and it wasn't a new conversation to Wichita State. Consideration of moving bowling to a championship level, NCAA championship level program has been going on for a while. And so we pulled the trigger after doing extensive financial research and understanding this was going to make a lot of sense for us. And I will tell you the impact, guys. This is a highly competitive program. It will be in the most competitive, the highest competitive league in the country in Conference USA. And we're ecstatic to do that. I've got a really, really good friend by the name of Greg Seitz, who's the AD at Jacksonville State. They just started a women's bowling program a year and a half ago. And in their first year of competition, they won the national championship. So obviously he and I have been going back and forth for quite some time, just talking about how they onboarded bowling, and he was certainly helpful in that. Well, they go out and win the national championship last year. So our team, what's unique about the bowling championship is that you can compete if you're an NCAA team in the NCAA championship, which they did and they won. You can also compete in the club championship if you're an NCAA team, but you can't. If you're a club team, you can't compete in the NCAA championship. So at any rate, Jacksonville State goes in to compete in the club championship, and our women beat them. So I don't want to set up any undue pressure for Holly and our bowling program, but it's an exciting time because we feel like that's a program that can finish at a really high level and can finish at a high standing nationally, which obviously helps you in Director's Cup points, which vaults your program. We want to be a top 100 program in the country out of 350, and obviously that will help. So it means a lot of things to a lot of people. I think most importantly, the young women in our program are incredibly excited. They are gracious. They are thankful. They ask questions like, do we get to use the academic center? Do we get to have access to the nutrition and the weight room and all those things? Like, they're just really excited to be a part of it. And our alumni is incredibly excited as well. So we look forward to that. It started July 1, and we'll see what the first year of the NCAA bowling program at Wichita State brings, but we're excited.
Follow up on bowling, if you don't mind, at Wichita State. And that is, Kevin, you know me, I'm a Hall of Fame guy. I love what a Hall of Fame means to a university, to a city, to a state. And you understand my love for seeing people honored the way they're supposed to. A little fact, and I don't even know if this has been talked about with you and your staff, but you may not know this. You probably do. I don't mean to put it that you don't know it, but no bowlers have ever been inducted into the Wichita State Hall of Fame. None, because, and I've worked on that with past athletic directors, with past information directors, and that kind of thing over the years. And I've always been a big supporter, and I've always pushed for bowlers to be inducted into the Wichita State Hall of Fame. For years, we've inducted bowlers into the Wichita Sports Hall of Fame, the City Hall of Fame. For years and years and years, we've inducted bowlers. Now that you have particularly women's bowling on the actual athletic side of the campus, how are you going to start inducting some bowlers into the Wichita State Hall of Fame?
Paul, I think it's a great question, and the short answer is yes. And you guys know I have a propensity to go a little longer than I probably should, but to understand the context of this program, right? The women have won a record 11 intercollegiate team championships. That's on the club side. That's the most in the history on the club side, right? 75, 77, 78, 86, 90, 94, 05, 7, 9, and 21. To give you a sense, we've won, I think, 6 individual singles championships, right? We've got a long list of alums that have on to professional success, from Dasha Kovalova. It's a long list. I don't want to leave anybody out. But as we've done the research on the program, you look at in the 16-team field in the club championship, 47 of the 48 years, the program has made the 16-team field. So it's only been left out once in 48 years. And in 35 of those 47 opportunities, they finished in the top 4. So this is a highly competitive bowling program. And so we could spend an hour going through all the young women that have been a part of this program. So, Paul, obviously that has been a part of the conversation from the beginning, is how do we accelerate the recognition of the women that have done some really amazing things. And we will work to do that, but also balance that with other inductees so that we make sure that we honor other deserving folks. But we've got some work to do for sure, and we plan to make some great strides in that area.
To stay credible, if you don't mind, if you don't mind a little advice from me, Kevin, that's just what you need on a Wednesday morning, a little advice from Savage. But your first inductee.
Oh, you know we get advice every single day, and we take every bit of it.
There you go. Whether you like it or not. But anyway, my advice is you cannot induct anybody into the Shocker Hall of Fame from bowling on the first go around unless it's Gordon Vatican. That's my advice. Take it or leave it. But if you want to be credible in the world of Hall of Fame with getting bowling added, you got to make Gordon Vatican the first inductee into the Wichita State Hall of Fame.
Yeah, it's obviously Coach Vatican's done an unbelievable job.
Oh, yes.
Over the course of that time. And Holly's done a remarkable job in the course of her short career as well. So we're really excited about that. And there are plenty of folks to honor. And so you're noted. It's noted. And I'll tell you this, there's probably not a more excited individual about our transition to NCAA championship bowling than Gordon. And he's been very, very gracious of his time and his compliments as we've transitioned through this. And I think in some parts, he really feels a great sense of pride that we are where we are today because of all the young women and his leadership. And we don't take that for granted. So it's been a huge part of where we are.
Kevin Saul, Wichita State Athletic Director, joining us. Kevin, we appreciate the visit. Enjoy the 4th. Hope you guys have some time to enjoy it and celebrate Independence Day this week as you guys stay busy there with the Shockers. But always a pleasure having you here with us on Sports Daily.
Guys, thanks so much. It's our pleasure as well. Appreciate the opportunity to be on your show. Go Shockers, and happy 4th.
There he goes, Kevin Saul. You can go back and listen to that for free on the Odyssey app. You can go back and replay it on the video stream as well. We are up against that break. We're going to take it here. Tommy is in. Tommy will join us next. We'll get into some of the other topics here. We'll get a Royals preview, get Tommy's take on that preseason Big 12 poll. It's all coming for you on Sports Daily.
Sometimes people tell us, I don't get it, it's just tea. But let me tell you, we are so much more than just tea. With more than 25 flavors, the possibilities are endless. Come on in and try them all for free to find your favorite or get us on the go for your busy lifestyle. And don't miss happy hour every day for half-price cups of tea. So the next time someone tells you it's just tea, tell them to come by and find out why we say drink tea, be happy.
this summer, take a trip down memory lane with me. Here I've had a couple of the outstanding fun. Every week, look at the Big League Baseball. Teams are winning expectations. Follow and listen to this podcast. The free audio tab every week.
300 plus dollars or more in medical bills or other unsecured debt. You may
We
be
have more
feeling
than
overwhelmed.
25 flavors. Come
anxiety,
try them all
even
for free.
embarrassed. You'll stop. That's right. Stop. It's not your fault. Life habit. Choose a job, or many other things that lead to freedom. You feel better and do something about it. Only over 300,000 work with competitive debt relief. Working with an interest rate for the better. We're here to help. Get out of debt faster. Make the call to learn how much we can save you. Time and money. No question, no obligation. The late fees is $281. Programming fees is not available in all states.
Summer's on, and so are the deals with Harvest 4th of July sale. So, celebrate with 30% off sale prices for the who you buy free with Harvest 4th. Or get Doritos chips on sale. And making a party with sprinkles. Plus, you're going to get red, white, and blue on 20% off of Target Circle. And save even more. Sweet lowest prices on many summer foods like sunscreen, Turtle ice cream, Apple's Kids juice boxes, and more. 4th of July sale is Saturday.
I guarantee you, at 30, I was out of space. With many hours upon hours. 137, I'm a homebody. Well, you are a homebody. I'm a wild child. You absolutely are. That's what I was. There's nothing wrong. Try to put the space up. You, on the other hand, you are
the Royals report. Royals right here on Wilton Hospital Sports Radio. 1240 KFH.
All right, welcome back in, everybody. It is Sports Daily. Oh, look at that fancy overhead shot going on the video stream right now.
How do you like
Facebook, YouTube, X. Can't see Jad, though. He's on the other side of that camera.
Yeah, but boy, I'll tell you
keeping
what,
this ship floating for us.
well, I'll tell you what, that's two handsome guys in that studio
Man,
right now. that
I'll
you
tell
can
you
see.
what.
I'll tell you what.
That is too much sexy
There
for
is
one
so
camera
much
to handle.
testosterone just flowing
Yeah.
through this room right now.
Yeah.
I can tell you right now, you guys are lucky to have me because I'm increasing the audience participation
I know.
of women over 60.
That's
That's
listen.
our target demographic right
It's a
there.
target demographic.
Yeah. I grandmas love me too. We are your grandma's favorite sports radio show here
Grandma,
on
you
Sports
mean-
Daily.
That's the women I
Yeah.
date. What are you talking about?
and probably Paul, most of them are grandmas. That's okay.
That's
I
okay.
love grandmas.
That's okay.
869-1240 is the IHOP hotline. Like it or not, this portion of the program brought to you by Crestview Country Club. We're talking a lot about 4th of July celebrations. And I know Tommy and I will be out at Crestview. I don't even know for how much, Tom. I know we'll be there for the fireworks. Are you guys going to the pool? Maybe we'll go to the pool. I don't know yet. It is a little chaotic here this week for us. So I haven't even thought about it. My wife is going to go play in some tennis tournament tomorrow. So maybe we'll end up at the pool. I know we'll be at the fireworks. I was just trying to see if we could fit golf in. There's no chance for that.
Yeah, I'm playing golf in the morning. I've made that decision. So I'm going out there and doing that tomorrow morning. And what I like about it is that on days like Memorial Day, 4th of July, Labor Day, your normal 4.5 hour round becomes more like 5 to 5.5. So it's longer, but I like it because that gives me an opportunity to drink more beer.
Yeah, you're
So,
carting now,
Yes.
aren't you? You're
Yep,
carting.
yep.
You're not
I'm-
walking. You're carting.
Oh, I'm carting for
I
sure.
figured
yeah,
you would.
I'm carting.
And
for
then
sure.
you can just literally go straight to the pool.
Walk over
I
to
mean,
the
you
pool.
can go from the
Yeah.
course to the pool. It's great. Crestview, give them a call. They got all kinds of fun stuff. Tomorrow would be a great day to take a tour, perhaps, if they're doing those. But let them know we sent you at Sports Daily. We appreciate their support. Tommy, we talked in the first hour a lot about the Big 12 media poll that's out. I want to get your take on it. So Paul and I actually feel we have a lot of parallels in the way we feel about this poll. Neither of us have an issue with Utah being at the top. Kansas State is within a fraction of being on top. Kansas got first place votes, is in the top 5. I think that's fair. I think the 5 teams that got first place votes are very fair and accurate. And then the other thing that was interesting to us, any of those top 11 teams, I would say UCF is the most questionable for me, but according to the preseason all Big 12 teams, they have a quarterback coming in that people are excited about. But I would say any of those top 11 teams with different varying odds, you could make a case, have a shot to win this thing. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, there's so much parity, I think, in the Big 12, especially at the top going into this year. So I definitely can get on board with that. I mean, I think that now that you've got OU and Texas out of the picture, it becomes more of anybody's game overall. I think the one thing that kind of surprised me overall about the polls that came out yesterday is really Kansas. And it's not where they are in the poll, it's that they got 5 first place votes. And I look at Utah and I look at Kansas State. And not that I don't think the Jayhawks are going to be very good this year, because I think that they will be, but them being voted by 5 people above Utah and above Kansas State, that surprised me a little bit. And I know that
What way? Wait a second. What way?
it surprised me that there are 5 media members out there that believe that Kansas is better than Utah and Kansas State.
But does it surprise you? Like, you doubt it? Because I
do. Yeah,
I think it's fair. I think the problem.
I think their
what if
overall
I told you?
placement
What if
is
I told
fair.
you
I
this?
just think the 5 first place votes.
What if
like,
I
didn't
told
think
you
they would get
Jalen
any first
Daniels?
place votes.
What if I told you Jalen Daniels
That's
was
the
going to
key.
play the whole year?
Yeah,
That's
now,
I mean,
now you got a different story.
That's the key, and
No, but
that hasn't happened. That hasn't happened the last 2 seasons.
Right.
Well, there you
But
go.
what I'm saying is, if I told you that, would you then say that it's fair that they got a first place vote? Because I would, based on what we saw last year, what we saw with a second and sometimes third string quarterback last year, I would say that if you told me Jalen Daniels is going to be healthy, then I could absolutely make a case to give them a first place vote. They have 2 guys in the secondary. By the way, we haven't even talked about this. KU has 2 guys in the secondary on the preseason all Big 12 team. K-State doesn't have anybody on there, which is kind of wild. There's your bulletin board material, Wildcat fans. But I think when you look at what's coming back for KU, what they added in the portal, and if you just consider Jalen Daniels even plays most of the season, I think you could give them a first place vote for sure.
Yeah, I mean, that's obviously going to be dependent on the health of Jalen Daniels, as we all know. That's the key factor for Kansas this coming season. I just think that, it's hard for me to give that benefit of the doubt because we haven't seen him finish a season in the last couple of years. So it's harder for me to say, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and bank on that and pick the Jayhawks to win the Big 12. Could they win the Big 12 if Jalen Daniels is healthy? Absolutely. I think they have the talent to do that. I'm just not willing to bank on that. Like, here's an example. I'm not, unless the odds are really juicy, I'm probably not going to place any money on Kansas to win the Big 12 before the season starts, because I've got no idea if the quarterback is going to be able to play the entire year or not.
Right. But Jalen Daniels is the key on where you're at with this team. Now, nothing's going to change me or would take me off of Utah. I believe it or not, because I don't have much of a life going on, Tommy, I actually watched Utah some last year. They're a good football team.
They are good.
They're a good football.
They are good.
They are big. They are talented. They are quick. Now, and I don't even know what they did in the portal. Don't follow what they do in the portal. Don't care what they do. But they're going to be good. Nothing's going to bounce me off them, Utah, as the number 1 pick. But I'll tell you what, you guarantee Jalen Daniels is healthy all year. I pick KU at number 2 and slide Oklahoma State and K-State down 1. But I pick K. That's how good. And by the way, part of that is reflected upon the support and what I think of the coaching staff. That's good coaching staff. That's good head coach. That's what they have in place. I like. They're in my opinion, other than K-State, and I'm not sure about Oklahoma State, but K-State, those are two of the programs that have the most family-like atmosphere that I can think of in the entire conference.
Yeah, and I think that if you're going to rank like head coaches in the Big 12,
well, you got
now, I mean, Kyle Whittingham, to his credit, I mean, his longevity is great. He's won there, for a long time. He clearly, in my mind, is the best incoming coach into the Big 12. It's not, and my whole thing, Jacob, with the Jayhawks and the 5 first place votes they got, it's not really a knock on Kansas. It's more about how good I think Utah is, how good I think Kansas State is. I feel kind of the same way about Arizona getting 3 first place votes in the poll, because I'm like, I don't know who's looking at Arizona compared to these other teams at the top and saying, yep, that's the team that's going to win the Big 12. That's the only thing that I think about, and that's the only thing that surprised me. I thought there would be much more concentration in the first place votes on Utah and Kansas State and maybe Oklahoma State.
The problem I have with it is I have not paid enough attention to Arizona in the portal. But I mean, I would tell you this. Last year, they were awesome, right? Like they were 10-3 last year in a Pac-12.
Now they lose Jed Fish. Jed Fish is no longer the coach there.
Yep. But they were the Pac-12 last year was as good a league as there was in the country. They were outstanding last year. Arizona sat there and went 7-2 in that league. They were ahead of Utah. And I know Utah didn't have their quarterback for a lot of the year, but I don't have a problem with Arizona getting votes either. The problem for me with these polls now, and why I sort of trust the people voting on them, is they probably have a better grasp than I do of what the other teams are doing in the portal. For me, I'm only really paying attention this time of year to what Kansas State and Kansas are doing. I don't know what Arizona or Utah have done in the portal. That's why these things make it hard for me. But based on the season they had a year ago, in a league that seems like it is going to be ripe with parity, I think I could make a case for Arizona. Again, I could make a case for any of the 5 teams that got votes. I think you could make a case. I wouldn't have been surprised to see Iowa State or West Virginia get votes. I think anybody else you'd have been surprised to see get first place votes. But I do think Texas Tech, TCU, maybe even Colorado, if the planets align based how top heavy their roster is. Like, I think you could, this thing could go any number of ways.
Were you surprised, by the way, that Colorado was so far down in the preseason poll? I mean, because to me, it seems like they were overvalued a year ago because of all the hype.
But not at this time last year. Right. Remember last year at this time?
I think they were.
Yeah,
they
were overvalued.
They were overvalued even at the beginning of
July. You think in July they were? Look, what was their win? Wasn't their Vegas win total famously like 2.5 last year?
Yeah,
and they got it by week 3, and we were all like, "Oh, here they come." Now, by 4 games into the season, 3-4 games into the season, they were absolutely overhyped. There's no question about that. TCU wasn't as good as we thought they would be. Some of those wins sort of devalued a little bit. I think Colorado is fairly. I would have placed them over TCU and UCF, and that's probably it in a poll. I told this to Paul, and I think I don't think it's like I think a lot of people feel this way. If you look at all the Colorado easily has the biggest gap between its ceiling and its floor. Like the range of outcomes for Colorado are all over the place. They do have the likely number 1 overall pick in the NFL draft. They do have a 2-way player we haven't seen the likes of in a long time that's a Heisman candidate in Travis Hunter. They had all these transfers coming in. Now they've had a lot of players coming out too. I have no idea what to expect, but I do think that they'll be better than they were a year ago. I don't think the rest of the roster will be as bad as it was a year ago. So how much better is that? I think anybody's guess is go for it. I have no idea, but the whole point is it's going to be wild. I have not been as curious about a preseason poll as I have been about this one for all the things we're talking about right now. We haven't even really talked about Kansas State in all of this, and to me, Kansas State is probably the safest.
Yeah.
They're all of these teams. They're the safest team to pick at the top.
That's because of Avery.
Yeah. Hey, by the way, I was trying to find what the preseason ranking was for Colorado in the Pac-12 last year. I can't find it because the Pac-12 website is gone. Like, it's just you can find it on Google. You click on it, the page, the error, like this page doesn't exist.
I am
they pulled
almost
everything down.
certain Vegas either had their win total at 2.5 or 3.5 games. That's all it was last year. Like, there wasn't, and they had that start, and I was guilty of it too. I was like, man, I'm watching them play. They can beat anybody, and then they just started getting smashed. But I think they'll be better than that. And I do think, their ceiling is pretty dang high in a congested league. When you've got some of the top end talent that they have, who knows? We'll come back. Let's talk about K-State's role in this. It's funny that we've talked about this poll. We have not really talked about their role in it. We'll do that next. It's Sports Daily. You've got your contest going to win some HTO. All you got to do is text the keyword T to 20357. You'll win a free tea and a free coffee. Message and data rates apply. We've got that for you. Lots more to come as we cram it in the last 20 minutes or so of Sports Daily.
Sometimes people tell us, I don't get it, it's just tea. But let me tell you, we are so much more than just tea. With more than 25 flavors, the possibilities are endless. Come on in and try them all for free to find your favorite or get us on the go for your busy lifestyle. And don't miss happy hour every day for half-price cups of tea. So the next time someone tells you it's just tea, tell them to come by and find out why we say drink tea, be happy. We have more than 25 flavors. Come try them all for free.
All right, welcome back, everybody. It is Sports Daily here on KFH. Glad to be with you on this Wednesday, day before a big holiday. We will not be on the air tomorrow. You'll have regular Infinity Sports Network programming here on KFH.
We will have a video stream, though. It'll be a rerun from a show last week. If you want to, if you can't get enough of us, if you miss us on the 4th of July.
I don't know why you wouldn't watch that rerun. I mean, come on now.
I can think of three reasons. Tommy, you, and me. There's the three
Mornings at KFH, by the way. Staff enjoys a great cup of coffee from Prairie Fire Coffee.
Oh, yeah. Right here. Look at this right there. There you go, baby.
Paul's got some.
Right there.
Tommy's had some this morning. We appreciate them always fueling us up at KFH. All right, let's talk about K-State's role in this poll real quick, and we can get more into this as we run along. To me, of all the teams in there, they're the safest. They return a lot, but I say that, and they did lose a lot. I think we just love so much the idea of what's coming in there. I think the defense has a chance to be better. But when I imagine Avery Johnson, DJ Giddens, Dylan Edwards starting there and trying to stop them doing what they want to do, which is run the ball. And it seems like the floor of that offense is really, really high. And I think they're the safest of the teams to just bank on them being pretty good. Is that fair, Tommy? Is that too much credit, and are there too many questions to make a statement like that?
No, I don't think it is. I mean, just the firepower they have offensively, that's enough to, I think, get you excited and to be able to say, okay, look, this is a team that, absolutely can compete for a Big 12 championship. My biggest question mark isn't even on the offensive side of the ball. It's on the defensive side of the ball. And I felt like there were occasions last year where, and especially it was evident during Farmageddon when they played Iowa State. Of course, the weather was bad in that game, but where they were not the lockdown defense that we have come to expect from Kansas State teams. It's a little bit of a different identity, a little bit of a different philosophy, I think, for Kansas State moving forward. The issue is that they, at least last year, had times where they were a shutdown defense, but then other times it was like they didn't know what they were doing on that side of the ball. So that's going to be my biggest question mark going into this season, because I have all the faith in the world in Avery Johnson. I've got all the faith in the world in Dylan Edwards and just everybody else that they've got, the wide receivers and, all of that, DJ Giddens and everything. I just wonder about what's going to happen on the defensive side.
But Paul, don't you think with those questions defensively that more experience, we knew that was going to be a question for them last year based on what they lost. I think by attrition, they're going to get a little better because they'll get more experienced. And I think they've brought in some things through the portal. I just think the defense will be better. How much better? I don't know. Good enough to win the conference? We'll find out. But I do think it'll be better than it was a year ago just because they're getting a little more experienced on that side of the ball.
Guys, what I'm going to have my eye on right off the get-go for the first few games with Kansas State, and even for Kansas, if you want to know the truth, you know what I'm looking at? Are we talking about skill guys? No, we're not. We believe both KU and K-State have a plethora of really good skill people, including quarterback. Of course, that we're talking about a healthy quarterback at KU. Obviously, Tommy, that's part of the equation. But with that being said, my eyes are going to be on physicality. I want to see offensive lines move defensive lines. I want to see defensive lines and linebackers fill gaps. I want to see the physicality of both of these football teams. Now, once I've seen that, Tommy, I will be able to kind of say, Jacob, this is going to be a good football team. But we've got to see that. Now, obviously with K-State, the first game is a game against UT Martin. I don't even know what league they are. I wasn't even aware that they played football, to be real truthful. But we won't be able to tell much on that. But the second game against Tulane, we'll probably get a little better idea. K-State goes down to Tulane, the second game of the season. We'll have a little better feel. But I want to see just how physical this football team is. Now, if they're physical, Tommy, this is a team that can be top 1-2 in this league. Physicality is going to be
a good point
in this league.
It's a good point, Paul, because they potentially lost 3 blockers offensively. Ben Sinnott, of course, but remember Cooper Beebe, who was all-world K-State. And then they lost KT Leviston, too. So 3 drafted players who could potentially be blockers for that run game we're talking about is certainly something to watch as the season comes on. We'll have much more on that in the coming days.
Yeah,
we're
we
going to
will.
come back and we will wrap this one up. Tell you what's on the network tonight when we return on Sports Daily.
Sometimes people tell us, I don't get it, it's just tea. But let me tell you, we are so much more than just tea. With more than 25 flavors, the possibilities are endless. Come on in and try them all for free to find your favorite or get us on the go for your busy lifestyle. And don't miss happy hour every day for half-price cups of tea. So the next time someone tells you it's just tea, tell them to come by and find out why we say drink tea, be happy. We have more than 25 flavors. Come try them all for free. We have more than 25 flavors. Come
Weird rain delay game last night. Kind of throw that one, wash it away with the rain, and see they're going to win the series. They got to win one tonight. We'll have more information on our partnership coming up with 12 News Plus. We'll do that on Friday. We'll get into some of those details. Tommy will be back there. Paul, thanks for being in. Enjoy the 4th.
Fun with your kids tomorrow.
We hope everybody has fun on the 4th tomorrow. For Jad, for Paul, for Tommy, I'm Jacob. We will be back Friday. We'll have an old show running on our video stream. You'll have Infinity Sports Network here tomorrow. Royals tonight. Celebrate it safely, everybody. Thanks for giving us America to our founding fathers. Happy 4th of July preemptively. We'll see you Friday.